and welcome to the June edition of the Shakedown. I'm your host, Mallory G, and here are what I found to be the most noteworthy scam stories in June. Let's work backwards, shall we? And acknowledge the most egregious scam that women all over America are facing. On Friday, June 24th, the Supreme Court struck down an almost 50-year law, Roe v. Wade, that guaranteed a woman's right to a safe abortion. Now, I know that I have a number of viewers that have very different political beliefs than me. And you may be saying, I thought this was an MLM channel, an anti-MLM channel. Partially. There are many issues and topics that I am passionate about, and I hope that even if you and I differ in opinion, you will stick around and hear me out. I want to discuss this topic because it's not just simply about abortion. I could go on for hours about the clump of cells, the difference between ectopic pregnancy and regular, and we could agree to disagree all day long, but when life begins, and what constitutes murder. But that's not what I want to discuss today. I want to talk about how I used to be pro-life. I was raised Catholic, and even though I didn't like it and I hated going to church, I was still very much against abortion. I even wrote a persuasive paper in my senior year of high school. But over the years, I learned about the various reasons abortion might be necessary. And again, I could get into all the reasons and examples of why an abortion would be necessary, but I won't right now. What I am going to get into is how fighting a ban on abortion is not the same as fighting to stop murder. You are at risk of being murdered. I mean, honestly, every day. Are you at risk of being aborted? No. But the unborn babies! I know, I get it. You have strong religious beliefs tied to that. But the only surefire way that you can secure your own place in heaven is to not get an abortion yourself. But of course, that's not entirely possible because of the various ways and reasons a woman might need to get in a medical procedure that constitutes an abortion. But we are now at a crossroads where women are going to have miscarriages, women who supported this striking down, and they are going to be investigated and possibly jailed for murder. Did they murder their baby? Absolutely not. But all it takes is one doctor to think you did it on purpose and your life is over. And we could also get into a conversation about when does life begin? I do believe that life begins at conception. I do. But I know that life at conception is not sustainable life. When you hear a heartbeat at 7 weeks, that is not sustainable life. And so I believe the conversation we should be having is not when does life begin, but when does sustainable life begin? Because sustainable life begins at various different times. Sustainable life could happen around 18 weeks, even 20 weeks. I have heard and known of stories of people who have had their children at 20 weeks. And thanks to amazing scientific advancements and wonderful hospital staff, nurses, doctors, those babies are thriving. So you could argue and say that sustainable life begins at birth. But to get into an argument about whether or not abortion should be legal is really, and I know that this might sound like a hot button phrase, but it is a forced birth conversation. It is forced birth. It is not about the unborn babies. Because if it were about the unborn babies, then the people who support this overturning would support universal health care. They would support state-funded pre-K for all. They would support the government helping us, parents, with the cost of daycare. Daycare would not need to be so expensive. And I think that's something that people don't really want to focus on or hear about or even think about is, well, let me put it this way. If I were to get pregnant, and my husband and I have taken the steps that we need to take to make sure that we don't get pregnant, but if I were to get pregnant, my mental stability would be in major jeopardy. Pregnancy takes a very hard toll on my body and my mental state, and I would be at high risk for suicide. I can just say that completely honestly right now. Not only that, but we are a 2-income family. We are both teachers, and we are drowning in student loan debt. a third child would put a huge strain on us financially. And there's going to be a lot of people that say, oh, but it's not about the money. But it is. This is America. We live in a capitalist society. Everything is about the money. If I had a third child, we would not be able to stay in this home because my husband would lose his office, because the fourth bedroom, that is our guest bedroom, but actually my husband's office, because we both work from home, would have to turn into a nursery, leaving my husband to have to live and work in the dining room or wherever else. Or my children would have to lose their play space so we could make that his office, or a dual office space. But not only that, the cost of having a child, we would potentially have to lose this house because of the cost, because of how expensive daycare is, and there's no end in sight, because of the cost of inflation, because of, there are so many things that a third child would do to our family. And I know that in my heart, if I were to get pregnant, I would not choose to abort the pregnancy, even with everything I just said, because of how I was raised. I was raised Catholic. We were raised to, well, if you don't want to have a baby, just don't have sex, which in a marriage is impossible. And they also teach you about natural family planning, where you have to wake up every morning and roll over and take your temperature, your basal body temperature. And if you don't want to get pregnant, when you know that you're ovulating based on the slight dip in in your temperature, that's when you know you're ovulating. But the problem is, for my entire life past puberty, my cycle has never once been regular. Not once. So natural family planning would never work for me. I got on birth control so that I could get a regular cycle. But the problem with birth control, particularly the pill, is that you have to take it at the exact same time every single time. Otherwise, it is way more likely to fail than the already 99% fail or 1% failure rate. People like me who have ADHD, people who are neurodivergent, we cannot stick to a routine like that. That is completely unrealistic. And just because Christian, Catholic religion believes that contraception is a sin, doesn't mean that it's a sin for the rest of the world. It doesn't mean that your beliefs should affect me. It is very frustrating to know that that is the situation. It's very frustrating to know that my daughter, who is 2 years old, is going to have to fight this battle. That whatever she becomes, she may be in a position where her body could never carry a child. But if she gets pregnant, she's going to be forced to carry it, and it could kill her. That's devastating. So there's a lot of reasons why this is a really scary time in our country for women, for people, let me rephrase, for people who have children, for people who can bear children. It is a very scary time for us. And I hope that even if you are somebody who is, and I'm putting this in quotes, pro-life, that you can understand our side of it, because it's very scary on this side. But let's move on to something a little bit more fabulous. If you couldn't tell from my eyeshadow, if you can see it from that far away, it is June and it is Pride Month. LGBTQ Pride Month is in June, and LGBTQ History Month is October in the US and February in the UK. These months celebrate the LGBTQ community and their great achievements. These months are significant because they symbolize a huge change that has taken place over the past couple of decades. And although injustices and prejudices still exist within our society, we have made great strides since the Stonewall riots in 1969, attaining marriage equality. Although, however, that is in the balance now. However, as previously mentioned, we still have a long way to go in the struggle for equal rights, as many members of the LGBTQ community still face discrimination, like a lot. There's a lot of argument about whether children should learn about pride and about the LGBTQ community. And no matter where you sit on that side of the fence, even if, and we're going to go back to the religious side of things, I want to ask you to really think about, let's just use religion as an example, okay? And there are going to be some people who disagree with my saying this, which I still think is wrong. But as a Christian and a Catholic, do I think that my children learning about Judaism or Muslim or, honestly, any other religion is going to take away from what we would believe as Christians? And truthfully, my answer is no. I think it's important that children learn about all the different types of religion, that they not be shielded from knowing that the entire world is not going to believe exactly what they believe, because that's not what happens when they leave our four walls. When they leave our four walls of our home, of the safety of what we provide for them in our home, they're going to be faced with people who say, well, I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish. Oh, well, I have to go to the mosque. And there's a lot of things I don't know about the other religions, so I don't want to misquote something that somebody might say, but there's so many things that they're going to be exposed to once they leave our four walls. You cannot shield your children from everything. And honestly, that's not what we as parents, in my opinion, should be doing anyhow. But when it comes to people who are gay, people who are transgender, people who are any other of the letters, okay, any other identifying orientation, how is it that it threatens your child or you if your children just learn that they exist, learn that a man can love a man, learn that sometimes a person can be born and assigned male at birth and then later they are a female? How does that threaten you? Because at the end of the day, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that if I don't believe being gay is right, which that's not what I'm saying, but if I don't believe that being gay is right, but then I'm just not going to be gay, which again, not a choice, but let me rephrase that. If I don't believe gay marriage is right, I'm just not going to go marry a woman then if I don't believe that's right. If I believe that being transgender is a sin, then I won't go through the process of doing that because I'm probably not that. But for people to say, well, I think it's a sin, therefore you can't do it. Well, that's discrimination. That's bigotry. So just because you believe something is wrong doesn't mean that it necessarily is. Now, Gay Pride commemorates the Stonewall riots, which began in the early hours of June 28, 1969, after police raided the Stonewall Inn bar in New York City's Greenwich Village neighborhood. And a lot of people, again, like I started to say, should we teach to our children? Students are more likely to have an understanding and acceptance for all individuals, no matter what they look like, what gender they do or don't identify, and who they love, if they learn about these things, if they learn about how it started. So I urge you that even if you feel in your heart that being gay is wrong, don't hide it from your children. Let them make their own decisions. Let them learn about it. Because we have learned, history has taught us, for those of us that choose to learn from history, that when you ignore history, it will repeat itself. When you ignore history, you are doomed to repeat it. You are doomed to be ignorant. So I beg of you, please use this Pride Month and the future Pride Months and every month of the year to allow yourself to continually learn and grow and the freedom to change your opinion. And now let's have a word from our sponsors.
Hey, you. Are you tired of your boring, normal vitamins? Those gummy vitamins that just don't taste good anymore? Are you tired of being fat and sluggish and living in black and white? Are you thinking there has to be a better way to get all of the vitamins and nutrients that I need into my horribly disgusting body that everyone tells me is so gross? Well, there is. Introducing manipulated nutrition patches. Manipulated nutrition patches are fun little patches that you can stick anywhere on the largest organ of your body, the skin, and you'll get all of the nutrients you need for the day. What vitamins and nutrients are these? Don't ask us. You won't know what they are anyhow. Just place them anywhere and you'll start feeling better immediately. Don't you feel better? Yes, you do. You feel better right now. So become a manipulated promoter today.
One of the things that we talk about all the time when we are really diving into MLMs and how people fall into MLMs and how people ultimately leave MLMs is a word that we hear all the time, and it is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when you feel that kind of that pit in your stomach or that uneasiness where you're like, this doesn't feel right. Or somebody presents you with information that is different than everything you have ever been taught, which applies to everything we've talked about in the previous two segments. I want to feature a video from Michelle Carpenter at The Fallible Spoonie, who has a YouTube channel under the same name, where she is doing a series where she talks about cognitive dissonance, or rather she talks about the different buzzwords and things that we hear about in cults and in MLMs, educates on them, and then in her second part of each little episodic, I'm losing my words, whatever, she interviews somebody that has a lot of experience or expertise on the topic. So here's a clip from Michelle Carpenter's most recent YouTube video where she is interviewing and discussing with Jenny Wild, who is a former Monat rep, about cognitive dissonance. Enjoy.
I know that the industry, and I know we've talked about this as well, reacting to people's behaviors, reacting to our own videos is so illuminating because we're seeing that behavior and those tactics happening in that real time on film, and our belief with it, or our battling that out the side door, like, get out of here, like, I'm trying to run a business, I'm trying to be successful like my upline, and I'm told that this is the way to do it. So we're fighting off any of the red flags of that intuition that's saying this is wrong, or kind of, maybe look at this harder, maybe critically think about this. Those little microscopic moments where, we sign up Kitty Carpenter, meow, we sign up a customer.
Satsuki, her name is Satsuki.
Just that 1 month, just that 1 month, just to get closer to where. This is how that industry, MLMs, begin to wear down and erode anyone's values, morals, and integrity and intent and intuition. Because if you do continue down that path, and now you are making 20 grand a month, let's just say you're part of that ranking system, you've gotten up there and that's your monthly takeaway or more. Wow, that's a trap. Now you're trapped, and it's going to take more. Those little cheats and those little workarounds are going to build. Where's that integrity you started with? Where is looking your friends or family in the eyes and saying, I'm a business owner, I'm a CEO of my own life, I get to make the rules, and I'm part of this network marketing company? Because, man, now you're really in it, and you are. So I feel like MLMs either attract people that are kind of already willing to go that route and ignore cognitive dissonance. Maybe even it's just not even a part. They just don't even hear it. They don't see it. They don't feel it.
Yeah.
Or you just get so far down that path that now you're duplicitous. You're in a duplicitous existence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's so wild how big the spectrum is of self-awareness of your own cognitive dissonance, because, I knew that I was experiencing cognitive dissonance for the majority of the time that I was in Beachbody. I was aware.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of resolving it by leaving the company, I attempted to resolve it by running my business differently, which is what you tried to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
With your business.
Yes.
And so at some point, if anyone is out there saying, I can do this differently, you're already seeing the red flags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
exactly.
otherwise, why would you need to do it differently? Why wouldn't you just do what your upline tells you to do if it's so moral, if it's so ethical? Why do you need to do it differently? If they're successful and they're giving you their tips and tricks on how to make it work, why do you need to tweak that system? Because you know that what they're asking you to do goes against your personal values. And I think that it is an invaluable tool to be able to look back on videos, because we know the way our brains think and nobody else does. And so I think that there's so much insight to be gained there, especially when talking about red flags, cognitive dissonance, manipulation, grooming, anything in this kind of gray area where MLM meets cult.
Yeah.
Right. And Dr. Hassan speaks a lot about this, so that's why I highly recommend just going to his website, freedomofmind.com. But
Okay, the second annual Global Multi-Level Marketing Conference, or the Consumer Protection Challenge 2022, was held online June 10th and 11th and brought together expertise from regulators, prosecutors, former MLM distributors, social media, consumer advocates, researchers, educators, and journalists to discuss ways to improve consumer protection and reduce consumer harm within the multi-level marketing industry. The conference, which attracted attendees and participants from 27 different countries, is the result of a groundswell of grassroots consumer advocates, often driven by former MLM participants, which illustrates consumer frustration from the continued victimization of friends and family. On Friday, the first day of the conference, Bonnie Patton, co-founder of truthinadvertising.org, kicked off the conference with the keynote address, posing a critical question. Self-regulation in the direct selling industry. Can it ever be more than symbolic? Friend of the show and former top MLM leader Jessica Hickson gave us an insider's perspective on MLM companies, retention conventions. Katie Daffin, Assistant Director of the Division of Marketing Practices at the FTC, spoke on worrisome MLM trends already being tracked by the agency, as well as painting a vivid portrait of what happens with all of our submissions to reportfraud.gov. And Liz Day from the New York Times brought us an explosive interview with Bly Pagan Faust, the award-winning producer of Lula Rich on Amazon Prime. Saturday's focus was more on the mental, emotional, and social aspects of MLMs, with facilitated panels on victim recovery, which featured my good friend and prolific anti-MLM advocate Roberta Blevins and the cult expert himself, Stephen Hassan, and anti-MLM activism from the perspective of online content creators like Dave Vaughn, Michelle Carpenter, and Elaine Linga from Invested Lifestyle, among many talented others. By the end of the conference, which also included 2 open Q&A sessions during which attendees were given the opportunity to take the mic and ask questions of the conference participants, or even to just share their own stories and ideas, a sort of quiet agreement about the overall general direction of the anti-MLM movement seems to have been reached by those who participated. In a recap message to the panelists, Professor Bill Keep from the College of New Jersey Business School said of the ideas and suggestions that came out of the Q&As, because we participate with colleagues who hold a range of views and priorities, various efforts can fit under the umbrella. While we may want to keep the conference as a cornerstone event, additional possibilities could increase our collective relevance and impact. On the subject of where the DSA and the MLM industry in general stand currently in their efforts to silence dissent, Keep said the following, which is something we should all consider carefully. It seems to me the industry's strategy is to largely ignore us. This is a reasonable strategy until we do things they cannot ignore. And now it's time for this month's multi-level malarkey. It's my favorite segment, multi-level malarkey. It's where we look at all the different things that we see happening on social media and just go, what a bunch of malarkey. Guys, Brookie Banksy, the absolute lover of Lime Life, has left Lime Life for the ever amazing Modere. She went live for a long time to tell everyone she was leaving and how much she loved everyone in Lime Life. But the next thing was Modere. For Christ's sakes, stop. Just full stop. She talked a lot about how she loved everyone at Lime Life, but it was time to move on to bigger and better things. And I tried so hard to wrap my head around Modere's compensation plan. And I mean, my brain just explodes. But these compensation plans are not meant to be easy to read. If a compensation plan doesn't say, you work this many hours, you get paid this much money, you should run the other way. Full stop. We also have Veronica Bay, who I found out, I didn't know, was a news anchor. She made this big post about how she was a lifer. And we saw this happening when Monet was showing their asses on how much of a cult they were by having everyone post that they were a lifer for Monet. Lifer meaning that they will be with Monet forever. They were pledging their allegiance to Monet. Well, Now she has gone to iGenius and left Monat in a devastating 30-minute live talking about it. Here's the thing. Monat is terrible. iGenius is even worse. iGenius, if you don't know, is a Bitcoin MLM. It's cryptocurrency. And we see in the news all the time that cryptocurrency is losing its value, and to literally move into what is, I can only describe as an actual pyramid scheme, and to go live and talk about how much you love this company. You were a lifer, but now you're not a lifer. What is the reasoning behind that? And the answer is more money. And let's also talk about this. WFAB has their own reality show. Guys, I can't with WFAB. Okay, listen. If you're not aware of who or what WFAB is, you're honestly better off. Don't go watch this. I'm not even going to watch it. It is a waste of time. But I also want to say, I don't know that I would think that this is any different than something I would do or a lot of people would do. Would they necessarily put it together and post it as like a TV show? I don't know. Is it any more ridiculous than me making this episode here and thinking that I'm the next Trevor Noah, which I'm not even close. No, Trevor Noah is a terrible. Samantha Bee? I don't know. Do I think I'm the next Samantha Bee? Obviously not. So could we put me and WFAB in the same category of delusion on making TV shows? Sure. But what I don't understand is that they are multi-level marketing reps for iGenius. They became big. WFAB stands for Work From Anywhere Bus Builders or something absurd like that. They became really relevant or prevalent or whatever word we want to use in this community because they left en masse from Monat to go to iGenius. And it was like this big upset. There was this huge thing because nobody in their downline knew what was happening. So that's why we ended up watching them. So what we see is a lot of kind of, and excuse me for sounding maybe a little mean, but a lot of wannabe reality stars. But you're a wannabe journalist. Okay, sure. But they are renting yachts. They are renting Airbnbs strictly to make content. They are spending so much money to get you to join so they can continue to do this, living this lifestyle. It's all smoke and mirrors. Because at the end of the day, I'll at least show you this is a green screen. This is a green screen. I'm not in a studio. You know that. And I also make videos for a living as part of my actual job. So it's not hard or costing me any more money to set this up and do this once a month. And then, the other things that I do. But I digress. All of the things that we just talked about is a bunch of multi-level malarkey. And now it's time for my favorite segment, Bitchin' with Barb.
Okay, all right, everybody. Hello, welcome back to Bitchin' with Barb, with your host, Barb Stupidinski. Now listen, last time I did a segment, I honestly don't even remember what I bitched about last month. It was probably a whole lot of malarkey, and a lot of nonsense. But this month is a real doozy. Are you ready? Okay, let's buckle up. Here we go. Okay, so Mallory's been talking a lot about this innovative nutrition, the one that took over Perfectly Posh, and their CEO. Do you want to know what her name is? You want to know what her CEO's name is? Her name's Barb. Her name is Barb. So we got a bitchin' with Barb about a Barb. And I'll tell you what, she's not a Barb like me. No, I'm a cool hip Barb. I'm an LGBTQ loving Black Lives Matter Barb. This Barb, well, you want to know her last name? Well, first of all, I'm going to be real petty. Her last name is Pitcock. You heard me right. It's Pitcock. Cack as in, cock-a-doodle-doo. Yeah, now listen, I got some qualms about this Barb Pitcock, okay? She's married to this Dave Pitcock over here. And then her co-CEO is Heidi Whitehair. I mean, what is going on with these names for a second? Whitehair? Okay, I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself. Okay, now listen. We got some concerns here with the Barb Pitcock, okay? Here's my first concern. Okay, first of all, she put this thing on the internet. Okay, on the Instagram, where she made this claim. When the MLM haters visit your booth, and after one night of a sample that they didn't want to try, they take all of your products. Hashtag innovative posh, hashtag slap that ass, hashtag body app. What the heck is slap that app? Nobody knows what you're talking about. Now listen, you tell me something, Barbie Pitcock, okay? You want to tell me that these women who were MLM haters? Oh yeah, okay, the haters. And how did you determine that they were haters? Did they simply say, oh, I don't like multi-level marketing? Oh, you're such a hater. Is that what they said? Oh, okay. If that means they're a hater, well then sign me up because I'm a hater, but you better spell it with an 8. H-8-T-E-R. Hate. Okay, and second of all, that you gave them one sample of a pack and all of a sudden they're changed forever. You know, that's a whole bunch of baloney. Nobody believes that your little cotton swabs that have nothing in them change these women's lives forever. And also nobody believes that they took the picture with you thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this product for the rest of my life. You are full of beluga. I don't know what beluga is, but you're full of it. Let's look at this next one. And you want to know how I know that this Barb is not a Barb like me? She's not a good Barb. She's not a Barb that you want to be around. You want to know how I know? This right here. She's hanging out with that little Jessica Lee Ward, saying, this girl lights me up, and I learned so many secrets tonight about social selling. Let me tell you something, honey. If you have to pay a high price for a ticket to get into a room filled with other brainwashed people, it's not a secret, it's a scam. A secret is something that you get to know, not because you paid money for it. I can't just go pay, the President of the United States to find out all the secrets of the government. You don't get to pay to find out secrets. Secrets are no fun. Secrets aren't for everyone. You shouldn't keep secrets for one. And number two, the secret to social selling is brainwashing. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but you've been brainwashed there, Barbie Pitcock. And I'm telling you something else too. I've been hearing a lot about this lawsuit you got going on with Youngevity. Your Mallory was telling me a lot about it, and the CEO of Youngevity, her name's Michelle. She seems like a really nice lady, even though she does run an MLM. We'll give her a little bit of a pass, okay? We're not going to be too mean with her because we want to defeat our common foe, and our common foe is innovative nutrition. This Barb Pitcock, she puts out lots of different video content where she makes these erroneous and egregious claims that this little cotton swab patch, you stick it on your skin, you look like you're in a cult, and you're going to lose 50 pounds in a month. Or something like that. She also, another lady sent me a live video that Mallory and I have to sit down and watch together one day. It's a really fun time when Mallory and I get together. We get some pizza and we get a little bottle of bourbon and we just get toasty and we watch TV. Anyhow, I'm getting off the tracks. What I'm trying to say is there is video apparently, and this is all alleged. So I just want to say allegedly, because I have to watch it, and I'll probably play it next month, or maybe we'll do a special edition, okay? Where she claims that she is so mad about the MLM haters that she's going to hire a hitman. Are you serious? Are you that serious about scamming people? Come on, ma'am. Come on. That's not healthy behavior. I really want to recommend you go see a therapist. I know lots of really good psychologists and therapists that could really help you out. So listen, Barb Pitcock, I have a feeling that we're going to go on a long dance together over the next couple of months because I'm watching you. You don't get to have the name of Barb and think you're going to get away with just, scamming people and taking everyone's money and being a gaslighter and a manipulator. No, you certainly don't. So I'm sure that I'm going to see you next time on Bitchin' with Barb.
Thanks so much, Barb. As Barb just talked to you a lot about the CEO of Innovative Nutrition, Barb Pitcock, let's talk a little bit more about the acquisition of Perfectly Posh into Innovative Nutrition. I do have a part 2 video that is coming for this, where I still have yet to react to the first live that Barb Pitcock, Heidi Whitehair, Dave Pitcock, and Ken Whitehair did to address the Perfectly Posh consultants. But there's a lot that we need to really talk about. And in that first video, I spoke about Youngevity and a lawsuit that they are doing. And Youngevity is an MLM, and at that time I was under the impression that Youngevity was under the umbrella of LaCour Enterprises. I have since learned that they are not. And you might be saying, how did you learn that? Well, the CEO of Youngevity has reached out and we have been in communication for the past week or so. It's been an interesting conversation, and I think that it's a good conversation to have because it really allows us to think, where are we? And we've talked about this. I know that Roberta talked about it on Life After MLM, the show. It was one of our first episodes. We talk about that anti-MLM is a spectrum, right? Youngevity is an MLM, but Youngevity has a mission to expose innovative nutrition. And this CEO, the actual CEO, not just like a CEO who's like, working from home and says she owns her own business, agrees with most of the things I say. She says that she has watched my content. She says that she agrees with a lot of the things I have said. And that's not to say that I agree with her business structure being an MLM. However, I am covering innovative nutrition because they acquired Perfectly Posh. And if you watched my interview, or rather, you couldn't have watched my interview, I didn't release it. But if you've watched any of my coverage of this acquisition up to this point, you have heard me talk about how Perfectly Posh tried to do things differently. And the reps at Perfectly Posh, the consultants, were never anything like what we see with WFAB. They were never intentionally manipulative. It was just a different vibe. It was a different environment. And so I'm covering innovative nutrition to warn and try to protect the women who are now suddenly innovative nutrition reps, promoters. They didn't have a choice. This is not a matter of me trying to intercept people to stop them from joining innovative nutrition. This is a matter of me trying to get the word out to the people who woke up one morning and found out that they were innovative nutrition promoters, which in my opinion is absolutely unfair. So in talking with the CEO at Youngevity, they are currently suing Youngevity. Now this is a source from behindmlms.org. Youngevity eventually states that they hired S&M Labs to verify the first lab results. So Youngevity CEO got a package of these patches that Innovative Nutrition claims will help you lose weight and claims will heal all of your ails and claims a whole bunch of things that are absolutely just not true. And they got them tested. And these patches came back absolutely with nothing in them but adhesive. Nothing at all. S&M Labs report of analysis shows that Innovative's patch products fail to contain any of the tested vitamins and minerals and dietary ingredients at the levels identified on the patch products supplement facts panel. One of the things that the CEO has stated, and I still need to look a little bit more into it, is that if there are vitamins that are crushed down and broken down into such a fine little whatever molecule that can penetrate your skin, it would smell. You would have smell. Vitamins and minerals have an odor. It would smell. It would also have a color of some sort. And these are just patches with adhesive on it. Another thing that is deeply concerning is that their chief medical officer is Dr. Janine Ridgway. Lovely looking lady. Doesn't seem to have any real problem with her except for the fact that she's a chiropractor. Now listen, I'm not trying to take a giant dump on chiropractors. Truthfully, I'm not. I go to a chiropractor from time to time, but I get frustrated when they say, well, you need to come back every week. No, I don't. I feel good. You adjusted me. Maybe I'll come back in a month. But I also get frustrated when they say that you shouldn't get vaccinated, that everything that can be cured through holistic healing. I think there's a lot of pros to chiropractic care, and I think there's a lot more cons as well. Dr. Janine Ridgway got her accreditation, her doctorate, her licensing, whatever, at Life University. Life University, as you see in this article here, loses its CCE accreditation. This was in 2002. What's even more interesting is that this is a direct paragraph from Life University's About section on their website. In June 2002, Life University's accreditation was questioned by the Council on Chiropractic Education and the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. Accreditation by the CCE was temporarily suspended before being restored by a federal court injunction. Life University was put on temporary probation by SACS, but returned to normal status soon after that, accrediting restoration by CCE. During this time, Dr. Sid Williams resigned as president of Life University. Michael Schmidt, DC, was installed as interim president in July 2002. Dr. Schmidt diverted resources from many of the programs and initiatives secondary to academics, such as the athletic program, in order to keep the university solvent. Other cost-cutting measures included workforce reductions and the sale of off-campus administratives and industrial buildings owned by the university. During the relative uncertainty of this period in Life's history, enrollment dropped significantly. This comes from their actual website where they talk about how they lost their accreditation. And I honestly can't find currently where they stand on this. But my bigger problem that I really want you to hear me on is whether, it doesn't matter if she's a great chiropractor or not. It doesn't matter if you believe, truthfully, that holistic healing is true, is good. A chief medical officer. A chiropractic doctor is not a medical doctor. A dentist is not a medical doctor. There are different types of, my husband is getting his doctorate in education. He's not a medical doctor. So he cannot be a chief medical officer. Dr. Janine Ridgway has absolutely no education or background and was not even involved in the making of these patches to be able to be the chief medical officer. They just sent her samples. She says she tried them. She says she got a great night's sleep that night and believed in their magic. You want to tell me you got a great night's sleep, or did they just give you a really big paycheck? Because I would believe that that is more likely the case here. So there's also been a lot of other things that have happened that I'm going to still cover with Innovative Nutrition, but I please urge you, if you are a Perfectly Posh consultant who is now an Innovative Nutrition promoter, please follow me as I'm going to continue to update you on the deception and the way that Innovative Nutrition runs its organization. I have a plethora of information behind, of like in a file that I need to sort through, and I'm still, it's not my full-time job. I'm still on summer vacation. So there's so much more to dive into, but I hope that you enjoyed this month's episode of The Shakedown. And remember, through kindness, education, empathy, and patience, we can create a lasting movement. So keep calm, and please don't join an MLM. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.